Finally, you can buy less than 100 shares now. No excuse. You know, we've been talking about, oh, I may not have the money to invest. Listen, the Nairobi Securities Exchange has dropped the mandatory of 100 shares to be bought as far as when you're purchasing US. Now you can buy odd numbers of shares, meaning you can buy less than 100 shares. Let me read you something that will happen starting from the 1st of August. NSE, that is Nairobi Securities Exchange, that was control everything as far as the shares are concerned, has actually dropped the minimum 100 shares trading rule from 1st of August year 2025. And guess what happens? This has changed its trading rules to allow for trading of shares in multiples of a single unit, which shutting down the odd lots board, which has handled traders or trades of less than 100 shares since the market's automation in 2006. Okay, let me just simplify it for you. When you are buying shares, for those who have already invested on shares, let me explain. When you go to, there is a certain part, let me show you here, you know, there is a certain page. If you go to buy shares, that page looks like this. At this particular section, this is where it is written quantity. Okay, this is basically where you input the number of shares that you want to buy, and then slightly below here there is price. Okay, and then here we have the delivery, and then we have the intraday. Okay, and then here we have market limit, and a lot of things that are out there, odd and what have you. So here on another section of quantity, you can buy then, or as of now, you see we are remaining with few days for it to be outlawed. Now you can only buy 100 shares. Let's say you're buying say KPLC shares. KPLC shares. Do you know what that means? If one KPLC share, probably let's say it is 10 shillings, that means you must buy at least a minimum of 100. Therefore, by default, if you want to buy the KPLC shares, as of now, assuming it's at 10 shilling, you need to have 100, meaning it's the number of shares that you have to buy a minimum, which is 100 shares of KPLC, multiplied by 10, meaning that you need around 1,000 shilling for you to buy a minimum number of shares. Now, see what happens. We have some companies which are very pricey. For example, we have companies such as Kakuzi, one shares goes say for around 420 shillings. And if the rule holds which you must buy 100 shares, therefore it means you need to have 420, which is the number of shares that you want to buy, multiplied by 100, which is probably 42,000. And of course, honestly speaking, not everyone has 42,000 to be able to afford those shares, but they would love to be enjoying the dividends of these companies because they pay quite of good dividends. For example, if you check out on companies such as BAT, British American Tobacco, which goes for around 370 shillings, which means you need around 337,000, and usually pay EPS. Their EPS, EPS, that is earning per share, meaning the amount of money that they pay per one share that you own of that particular company is around 50 shillings. I mean, for God's sake, that's quite of a good amount of money, isn't it? So you find most of the people are not in a position to afford this number of shares. Now the NSE, that is the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And who is this? Nairobi Securities Exchange, it is the institution or the body that regulates how can I say? See, when you want to buy tomatoes and potatoes and whatever, you usually go to the market. So whenever you want to buy any shares or shares of a given company, which must be a PLC, meaning a public listed company, they are usually listed under the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It's like the market where all the companies who they would love to sell their interest usually go. So you have to go there. Now that institution, that market now that regulates who sells what and when and who is an PLC and who is not, they have decided now, guess what? We've dropped now the 100 shares now. One can buy way less than that. Can you imagine this now? See, if one share of KPLC costs 10 shillings, you can even decide to buy just a single share. Can you imagine that? So if you only have 10 shillings, you're already an investor in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. If you ask me, I will tell you this is a wow move. Why? Because it will gonna make a lot of people afford to invest on this. And I'm looking forward one day that we're gonna be having a lot of investors in Kenyans investing in our own securities exchange, and probably our securities Securities Exchange will end up being one of the greatest and one of the most coveted. And in that manner, then it means that these companies will be making profit. And of course, we are the consumers and we're going to be benefiting out of that what we are consuming. Are we together? So what happens is that when they drop this, then it becomes more affordable to more people. I remember I had some clients who were telling me, Joseph, I can't manage to afford that amount of money. Can you imagine if the share cost around, say, because we do have shares that cost as little as 2 shillings. That means if you have only 2 shillings, you can be able to invest on stocks. Now, what are the excuses, guys? Come on, this will gonna start in August. That means it's making this video on 22nd of July. That means some 8 days to come from today. You can be able to invest on this. This is great. This is amazing. And I really hope, guys, you're gonna check on this opportunity, tap it and get into it, start investing, build your portfolio. Now, if you are in university, for God's sake, if you're watching me and you're in university and you've been wondering now where and how can you invest, now this is the area where you can be able to invest. You have your 50 shillings, you have your 200 shillings, you have your 100 shillings, whatever the money that you have now, you can start buying shares cumulatively, and you can just imagine what you can end up with. Assuming now you're watching this video in your first year and you're going for 4 years, by the time now you're getting out of the doors of that particular university, you already built yourself a portfolio that you can be earning some dividends, and ultimately you can even decide to sell those shares and you can get some cash by yourself. Now see, these are the moves that I usually say they are progressive moves, where you make the investments more affordable. And we who are educating people on social media on the importance of investing, importance of setting some cash aside, importance of having these different portfolio of investments, now we'll be able to tell people this is affordable. You can be able to invest. Do you know what? This now makes it all the shares, the most expensive company listed under the NSE. I stand corrected. Depends on when you're watching video. I said I'm making this video in July of 2025 on 22nd. This is the most expensive one. That is the Kakuzi. Talk of Kakuzi, BAT, the Kapchorwa tea, Limuru tea. Those are single most expensive company shares. But then you find somebody that has around, say, 5,000. 5,000 now, you have yourself a couple of shares of this company, isn't it? Now, because if one goes for 420 shilling, somebody can be like, you know what? I have 1,000 bob with me. I can buy 2 shares of Kakuzi. And that time I buy 2 shares of Kakuzi. Ultimately, saying in 2 or 3 or 5 months, this guys has already accumulated at least the minimum number, which is 100, well, as of now. Then ultimately, when it becomes affordable, you see yourself moving. See, when you go to your portfolio, or rather when you go to your, how can I say it, the investment portfolio, and you see you're building masses, you're fattening the cow, it gives you the motivation, it gives you the zeal, so that ultimately you can be able to see that indeed I'm progressing ultimately to the next level. Now, honestly speaking, I'm making, of course you can see from my face, I'm making this video and I'm so happy because I'm seeing progress being made by the Nairobi Securities Exchange as far as the investments are concerned. And that is exactly what we should be doing so that we can be able to invest. And the clarion call still remains. Stocks is one of the best areas where you can be able to invest. I gave you an example of areas that I invested on stocks and things went out very, very well. And honestly speaking, right now, for those who are invested on stocks, kindly tell me on the comment section, how is the market behaving? Because market is on upper trajectory. Why? Because when you check out on the cash or cash equivalents, or should I call them the capital markets, the returns aren't really, admirable. Talk of the FIF, talk about the MMF and what have you. The interest there aren't that admirable. But of course, I'm not saying that you should withdraw your money. No. Let it be. Are we together? But the point here is, now, the stocks is where you can be able to invest and you grow yourself, and ultimately one day, because let me tell you one thing, on stock, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can earn on what we call a capital gain, meaning you buy shares, say at 10 shilling, increases to 15 to 20 to 30 to ultimately higher levels. And of course, if you were to sell those shares, of course, you get some interest, okay, or profit or capital gain. That's what we call it. And of course, at the end of the time, again, you earn in terms of dividends. You know, you're just doing your own thing, you check on your bank balance, and all of a sudden you realize that they have, quote unquote, hit you with some dividends that, of course, you knew it's gonna come, but it just hit you unexpectedly. And you can even decide to withdraw that cash and do something. So that is exactly what, guys, I'm telling you. It is good for us to invest as early as we can. It's good for us to build our portfolio. It's good for us to, you know, be able to be out there and learn much about investing. And I hope one day that these things will be taught in our schools. You know, probably if people are in their, you know, kindergarten and what have you, because I believe this is how we can build our nation and be able to produce investors and creators rather than job seekers. And that way we can be able even to kill this menace of unemployment, because it's so synonymous in the continent of Africa. Well, as I finish up this video, obviously, for you to invest on these stocks, you have to have a CDS account. You have to have a stockbroker for you to open a CDS account. You have to maneuver around that particular app in terms of buying. You also need to know what companies to buy and why are you buying those companies and what have you. And if that feels so complicated for you, it is so simple. You can simply take that number of mine, shoot me a call. I'll be able to take you through step by step on what you're supposed to do. But don't forget, come on, when you call me, you know, behind the tent, that's what we call it here in Kenya. Of course, that comes with a little bit of an affordable price in terms of charges. I'm telling you because I know you can afford it, okay? So yeah, that is exactly how you do it, okay? And someone who told me, hey Joseph, would you mind if you can touch on some things like what are the best companies to buy? Well, honestly speaking, I can't tell you buy this, buy the other. What if I make this video, then after 5 years somebody's still watching this video? Because the best company today may not be the best company to buy tomorrow. What I can tell you, always be checking the companies, you know, how can I say this? Check on the track record of a given company. Check on something that we call it the 52-week range. How the shares have been behaving for the last 1 year. Are they going up? Are they going down? And if they go up, do they go up extremely, or when they go down extremely? So you have to check on the boundaries on the same. You have to check also the change of management, you know, the change of the CEO, the whatever. You have also to check the relationship of the company with the government. We have some companies usually rub shoulders with the government. Then ultimately, you know, the moment, let me tell you one thing, guys. The moment you are in business and you rub shoulders with the government, it is actually one of the, I will never recommend you to do that. I'm not telling you that you should, you know, okay, let me not get there. But anyway, those are the factors that you check. You check the performance of the company, the track record, whether they pay dividends. You check on something called the EPS, earning per share, the price per share. You also check, but if this goes by, then price per share isn't really a factor. But of course, you have to check it. Check on the 52-week range so that you can be able to see, hey, you know what? I can afford this, I can't afford this, or something like that. And that way, you can ultimately be able to make a decision. But anyway, the message is home. Now you can buy less than 100 shares on the NSE, and that is a progress. This is Good Joseph. See you in the next one.